So, welcome to another episode of Inspired Good Fat Life, where we continue the conversation and the journey on taking exquisite care of ourselves and creating that good fat life. And my guest today, I am so excited about. There's so many dots that have aligned with meeting my guest. And we'll talk about that kind of through the conversation. But I'd like to introduce Merina Ty-Kisera. Right? Did I get that right, Merina? Okay, got it. I'm trying to learn learning French. Yeah, I'm learning French, and names I have such a challenge with, and I understand why learning a new language is a challenge. But I'm also finding with practice. Yeah. I'm also finding with practice, we get it, right?
Yep, that's it. Yep. Practice makes permanent.
Yes. Oh, I like that. Practice makes permanent.
Yep.
So welcome, Merina. So let's just give our listeners a little perspective of your background. So why you do what you do. And I know it's been a bit of a journey, and I found it fascinating. So if you could just kind of give us a little quick version.
Okay. Well, I'm going to start at the very beginning of this life, just to give a little bit of a backdrop. I was born breech and had hip dysplasia, and so they didn't find out for about a month after I was born, and then my left leg wasn't growing. So I ended up in a cast for 6 months. And really from there, now looking back at it, I really felt as if I was broken. And I had just had this determination, and I didn't really understand it, but at a very young age, determination to have health, to be healthy, to feel full and alive and happy, and just all about health. So I went down many roads, many modalities, and finally came upon acupuncture as the modality that seemed to resonate the most with me. And I really felt like I found much more of who I am through the acupuncture. And even more so on the spiritual side, I really focused on traditional acupuncture, or Worsley 5-element acupuncture, which focuses really on the spirit of the person. And so now my practice in Asheville, North Carolina, is all about spiritual acupuncture, as well as looking into the Akashic records of the person and opening them up into some of the subconscious belief systems that are held within that, and working through all of that with acupuncture as well as other modalities. And yeah, that's the basic story. But one of the big things that I, created along the way was when I discovered essential oils. I was able to really figured out how to put oils on the points and how they were synergistic. The oil, spirit of the oil, and even the physical function of the oil can really connect with the spirit or the physical function of the point in certain areas of our body. So it was just a big aha. And I was I had been around a lot of people who were new to the oils and just overwhelmed with how exciting it is. Oh my God, now what? I want them all, but now what? And I'm like, well, if you have a headache, here's what you do. And if you have a stomach ache, here's what you do. And so I put the two together, and that's when my book came along. But which I love, and it's in German now as well, and it's helping a lot of people. So I'm super thrilled and excited about that.
So I have I have this grin that is just could fill up the whole room, right? With what you're saying, because it just makes my heart sing, and it's so exciting. And the other thing I love about it is it's accessible, right? It's anybody can step into your work. You don't have to be in Asheville. Or you could connect with you on Zoom like we are, but just with your book. So I have Merina's book here, And I'm
Mhm.
so excited to share this with you. Get this right. Acupuncture with essential oils. And one
Acupressure.
acupressure. I'm so sorry. Acupressure.
That's
Thank
okay.
you.
I can't
With
do it on acupuncture would hurt.
yeah, exactly. So, and it's a nice way to maybe move in for somebody who's not ready to go to acupuncture,
Mhm, mhm.
and that you can kind of start here. Um, but I have a great story about this book, right? So I met Marina through a mutual friend, Valerie Renee Shepard, while I was at a workshop in Asheville about a month ago, and with Jennifer Hoff. And I saw this book, and I'm like, I need this book in my life. And so I bought a copy. And then I came home and went to my reflexologist, who is here locally in Heartland, Michigan. And she, so I had she has oils, but we use a little bit with the reflexology. But I went to kind of check out, and she had this book sitting there. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's Marina's book. And
So
she
cool.
said, yes, my naturopath had given it to her because she was excited about the work Pat was doing. And it was like, oh my gosh. And the naturopath is just down the street. So it's like, you're famous. You're famous in my area,
Well,
right?
all these synchronicities. That was such a wonderful, heartwarming story that I could do that reach without having to be there, but be there in spirit for sure.
Well, exactly. And when, so it made my, Pat with Healing Souls reflexology, it made her feel so, I don't know, so connected and validated, right? To like
Mhm.
have this, the dots are connecting, and that's
Right.
really exciting. So where do you start? And I also want to say is that Marina and I are both coming off heavy travel weeks, and I took a red eye last night, or the night before, and worked all day yesterday and was up at
Mhm.
5:30 this morning for a board meeting early. And I feel great.
Mhm.
And Marina's had a similar schedule, and she's here in her full energy and glory. And so we were just talking about it's these kinds of things, having these kinds of tools and just ways of
Mhm.
being that allow that, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's not just a journey or a destination. It is a lifestyle and a commitment really to our own well-being, a commitment to feeling good and enjoying life and being able to take in as much as we possibly can in life, in this life, because there's so much excitement, there's so much juice, so much good things to try, and I want to be here for it. And just I actually, I mean, I did kind of go, oh my god, am I going to be okay in the morning? And and I
Right.
was like, I'm going to be fine. In fact, I did some oils, and I'm like, whoop, I'm awake, okay, let's go. So
So what kind of oils would you do? What would be your process?
well, this morning, what I did was actually rosemary. It's very awakening, stimulating, and I just put some on my hands, breathed it in, and also I put a little on my head because this point opens up not only the crown chakra, but we're also connecting the brain, opening up the brain. So it was like, okay, the energy kind of came up, and it's stimulating, and it has also like a cooling quality to it. So if you're tired, and things aren't moving within us, this cooling quality can override any heat that might arise from being tense or being tired and extra fatigued. That cooling just opens it up and then clears the extra heat. And Chinese medicine, clearing heat is a big deal.
Is a big deal.
So
Right,
right.
right.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, so for so many reasons, as we can imagine.
And so
But
do you bring Chinese medicine into your acupressure and your essential oils to your process?
yes, well, of course, all of the acupressure points are based on Chinese medicine and the acupuncture points. And so
Okay.
every acupuncture point has a specific action or indication, as they call it. It's like, well, let's say this point is good for the lung and opening up the lung and clearing lung congestion. However, what I've done with the book, which is what most people don't know in traditional Chinese medicine, they don't really study that as deeply, is the spiritual aspect of the point. So I have this point and it clears the lungs and opens that up, but it's also because it's associated with the lung meridian and the lung organ, it's about grief. And the lungs hold grief. And it's also where we connect to the chi, the air, the prana, that the metal element, the prana element, air element, and that's where we get our inspiration. That is the first thing, right? Our breath is first. We can't last very long without that inspiration. And one of the blocks that I clear every time on people, whenever on patients, whenever they come in, that's one of the first things I do is clear all the blocks between meridians. And one of them is the lung with the liver, the blast point on the liver channel. And that point is called the gate of hope. So they're so connected because if you're inspired, you have hope. But if you're not inspired, you don't have hope. You can't aspire to what it is that you want. And so I have put these together I've touched on them in the book. I think there's another one coming that will be much more spiritual. Um, and really opening that up so that we are ready and willing and open to what wants to come through, and we can move forward with that with ease and in our body and flow within our body, especially around the liver, because liver is all about flow.
Flow.
So
Wow. Oh my gosh, that's fascinating. I just actually got the little chill bumps as you were talking
uh-huh.
because
I love it.
it is. So one of the things I'm seeing a lot is people are overwhelmed.
Mm.
So I hear that conversation. I'm just overwhelmed. I'm overwhelmed. I can't take another thing. I can't absorb another thing. So
Mm-hmm.
what would be something that would come maybe from your book or for your teachings to deal with overwhelm?
Well, one of the first things I do, which I absolutely love, and it's so simple, is taking bergamot, which I have frankincense with me, but let's pretend it's
Okay.
bergamot.
Okay. Okay.
Bergamot is a citrus oil, and it is very good for triggering or helping the parasympathetic nervous system kind of come back online. Because when we're overwhelmed, when we're stressed, we're all in sympathetic. And it's hard to get out of it, especially when it's just constant barrage on many levels. It's food, it's energy, EMFs, it's not only, stress, outward and inward stress.
And
And
the
the
news and
everything.
years. Yeah.
Yeah, there's
Right.
so much of it. And so the first thing in any kind of protocol in working with this is to just calm the system down. We really need to calm the system down. And in order for anything to happen, you can't go off and do something else because the body can't accept it. And if the body's not calm. So the first with bergamot, I put a drop on the pinky, and you kind of put them together, and then you touch it in your ear. So there's a point right in here that you've got this part, the top of my ear, and then I
Uh-huh.
come down towards the front a little bit, and there's a little triangle, a little divot right there. I don't know if you can see it.
Yep. Yep. We can. Yep.
Okay, so both sides, and you just hold like, yeah, it doesn't even have to be bergamot, but the point itself, this is an ear point. It's called Shen Men, which is spirit gate. And this point is obviously right by the brain. And the point by itself, we use it in acupuncture quite a bit, and is to kind of calm the whole system down. But the combination of the bergamot essential oil, which is uplifting, opening, healing, very gentle. It's got a lemony sweet fragrance that kind of rocks you gently. And so between the two, your whole system just starts to go calms right down.
Wow.
And I'm even feeling it in my brain right now. My brain is starting to go, oh, okay, we're calming. And and so holding that for about 2 minutes or 3 minutes after you take a few deep breaths and just you'll feel it. You'll feel it in your legs, you'll feel it in your feet. You just and that's the one oil I would suggest that everybody have just a little bottle of in your purse with you or because it's safe for kids, it's safe for everything. And anytime you're just like, wow, just that, bam, and plus, you kind of look silly.
Yeah.
So so it kind of lives in it. It's like, okay, I'm doing this, or I don't want to hear you. So it has got all sorts of sweet, possibilities, but it just kind of breaks that pattern, that stress pattern. It's like it breaks the neuro pathways of that
Path.
pattern as well. So that's important too.
And
And
then
then the
so
brain is calming.
oh no. So a couple things you said. One, so it's safe for
Mhm.
kids. So
Mhm.
any age kids, is that
Pretty much. If you're going to
okay?
go below 5 years old, you want to dilute it. So the carrier oils, which is fractionated coconut oil, which is one of my favorites, and then you dilute it like 10 drops of carrier oil to about 2 drops of bergamot. So it's a
Of a bergamot.
20%. Hmm.
Okay. And
Yeah.
and what
And the
that's
other
awesome. I'm okay.
And the other thing around safety is that bergamot is also a citrus, and all the citrus oils are photosensitive, meaning if you go in the sun with the oil on, you might get a quick sunburn. So you wouldn't want to have the oil outside when you're sitting outside, for
Okay.
example. You know,
Okay.
um, yeah, I made that mistake, so I learned.
Oh, okay. No, it's just like those are the things that are kind of like good to know, right?
Hmm. Very
Really
much
good
so.
to know. And
Hmm.
so, okay. So if you were putting together a kit, if you will, the
Hmm.
Ohm kit, get started with oils.
Hmm.
What would you recommend is in which oils would you recommend is in the kit, the starter kit?
Definitely bergamot, and of course lavender, and lemon, as well as tea tree oil, frankincense, and then one more, I would say a conifer. So I love black spruce,
Okay.
a wood oil because it's very grounding.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And then if you have those and then like your book
Hmm.
would give you a kind of a good swath for
Yeah.
common
You could do a
common
lot.
kinds of things. Okay.
You could do a
Um,
lot with that. Yeah.
okay. All right. So we'll talk about, so that's kind of like the practical piece of it. And then
Mhm.
is there a spiritual element that you bring in when you're doing that, when you're using the oils?
Yes, very much so. And I think I wrote it a little bit, like I said, in the book and in the points with the points and the oils, because every oil and every point has a spiritual component. And so even though I talk about somebody dealing with a headache, for example, in the book, it's also to help you recognize that you are connected and that you're okay, and this particular oil is going to open you up and connect you to, like what I did with rosemary. I'm putting it up here. Well, that is my crown chakra, right? So I'm opening and stimulating that, and I'm opening up there to the divine, to open, to connect, so that I am a conduit. I'm able to be a conduit. I'm relaxed, and I'm allowing and able to allow the energy to come through. And so I talk about that and I touch on it a little bit. I didn't want to get too woo-wooey in the beginning when I wrote the book.
Sure.
So I thought, well, people who get interested in the book may want something more later. And so, but that spiritual component is very important to me because we're spiritual beings, in my opinion. And so these oils and these points are, again, not just physical but also spiritual, emotional and spiritual. And if you think about it, our hands, our touch and smell are our most primary senses,
Oh,
so if we go into a room and something stinks really bad, we're out of there instant, right? It's like we
right.
can't handle it. And then our touch, when a child isn't touched for a long time as a baby or something, they pass away, right? There's been many studies around the importance of being touched and held. And so holding these points and the oils with just doing that alone is giving us that self-care, that self-love, that moment of saying, yes, I matter. Yes, this is important to me. And I'm connecting to the spirit of the oil and spirit of the points, but not to stay cerebral. And that's what I like to provide to everyone, a little advice. Let's just not stay cerebral, but stay in your body. Because when we're in overwhelm in these times, we're just blah,
Right.
all over the place and trying to get grounded and trying to get back into ourselves. We can't even feel ourselves, and we're just grasping outside of ourselves for help. And this is the way to just say, okay, it's me. I'm here, and I can connect again. And that's what I love about this modality, and being able to help everyone come home to themselves and have some self-empowerment about their ability to do that.
To do that. Well, and with the oils, the smells are so
Yeah,
intense
and
that
powerful,
and
right?
powerful that it just immediately pulls you into somewhere else.
Hmm.
Just and whether you want to tap into your spirituality or not, it still
Hmm.
physically pulls you into something else,
That's right.
right?
Exactly.
Right. And then if
Exactly.
you
And
want,
brings you into the present moment.
yeah, that's a great, yeah,
Right.
that's right. It really does. And when we
Mhm.
can be present, it changes everything.
Yes, everything. Then you can allow, and then you get better decisions, and you have better relationships, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah, exactly. So if, and and I don't want to put you on the spot at all, but I would like, how would you advise somebody who's never purchased an oil to purchase one? What are they looking for? Where do they go? Because I know when I got started with oils, I didn't know the difference,
Mhm,
and there's some really less than high quality oils available.
mhm, mhm.
So
Well, there are some really great oils available now. I would say stick with oils that are organic, artisan crafted, or wild crafted. That would also be super important.
and what does
And
that mean? Can you just talk? What does
well, certainly organic. You want the plants that are organic. So whatever plant, the oil itself will be coming from a plant that's been organically farmed.
okay, and it'll
So
say
let's
that
say
on
a
the label.
lavender.
Okay,
It should say it on the label. If you can't go to organic, then um, wild crafted, which is actually less available. But that's important. And that I honestly feel that there are some really beautiful companies that are small, that are working with small distillers around the world. And they are so much more attentive and connected to what it is that they're doing. And all of that translates into the oil and into the end product. It's like if it's just a machine, that end product, yeah, it's going to hold some of that energy, but it also holds the energy of the process. And and that the beauty of it, the spirit of it, to me kind of gets lost. So smaller artisans, smaller companies, and also being aware that some of the many oils now are adulterated because essential oils are so popular. And it's important to begin to I'm actually thinking of creating a class in honing your sniffer.
okay, okay.
Because there are ways to be able to connect with the feeling of an adulterated oil. And I'll just as a brief, it's like you can smell an oil, a really clean oil, and it will kind of go through and up into your sinuses and up there, and it'll be smooth, it'll be easy. Even if it's a strong oil, it'll still have that feeling of being easy on your sinuses. If you have an oil that's potentially adulterated, even if it's a bit adulterated, it will kind of stop right about in here, and it'll almost, if you're really sensitive like I am, it'll almost hurt. But it
Wow.
won't have that gentle movement into the rest of your body. It'll just kind of be like it's almost forceful. It hits you versus merges with you. And
Oh, that's fascinating, right?
mhm,
So using your body to kind of let you know what's clean and pure, and
and that's what we're all about, right? So really honing our skill to be in touch with our feelings, our senses more, so that we can have some discernment about all the things that are around us that are bombarding us, and trying to speak out loud, pick me, I'm the best, I'm the best, I know what's good for you, I know what's good for you. And you have to take that moment of saying, well, are you good for me, really?
are
And,
you?
in this overwhelm, a lot of this time we're overwhelmed because we can't connect to what is right for us, because we've been so forced to look outside of ourselves, or even, all the media is just like, it's just so loud.
Right, right.
So,
Or even just not knowing. I mean, I've talked a
right.
couple times about how often, and excuse me, I'll buy something and then thinking I've kind of read the label, but when I get it home, I realize no, I tapped into the marketing of it, and I
Uh-huh.
didn't closely read the label, right?
Right.
So
Right.
it's always an awareness,
Yep, yep. And the more aware we are, the more aware we become.
right?
And it is that is a journey. And as we know, the self is like, is this good for me? Is this latest and greatest fad really good for
Good
me?
for me. Well, we know good fat is good for us.
We do know
So
that.
we know that. That's one thing we
We
do
do.
know. Well,
Absolutely.
again, this is your book, Acupressure with Essential Oils. And so with the podcast, we will provide all the links, I guess, for if anybody's interested in getting the book and hearing more about you and where they
Mhm,
can find you.
mhm,
And I know you are able to do things through Zoom, to have
mhm.
client meetings through Zooms and assessments and those things, because I've had to myself, and
Uh-huh.
looking forward to the next one. And so that's good. And I'm also wanting to just mention to our readers or to our listeners that we have Good Fat Life magazine. And yes, and if you go to our website, goodfatlife.com, you can hear all about it. And we will be having some articles from Merina in there that's talking more about a little deeper into the essential oils and acupressure. And but I mean, I just so love what you said about really honing our bodies,
Mhm.
because we just have gotten, we're just never taught how to do that,
Right.
right?
Right. Yeah, we've been taught to look outside of ourselves for our answers. And our bodies have it. Our bodies are the ultimate GPS.
Right. Or to mask it with, you have a headache,
Mhm.
take
Right,
a pain relief so the headache goes away, but it really does nothing to let you know what the headache came from.
right, and the emotional issues around it. That's another thing I actually did this weekend. I was working with, um, at a workshop for the advanced level of helping release some of the subconscious beliefs and the subconscious triggers that cause some of the allergy reactions and physical issues that we have. And it's been super powerful, and I'm going to be incorporating that a lot. I incorporate that a lot in my work, and it's just another level. It's fantastic.
Oh my gosh, I want to go to that workshop. I- so you'll have to
Thank
let
you
us
so
know when you're going to have one. Yeah.
Yep.
Yes, let's book one. So
Yep.
again, is there any like a last parting thing that you would like to say? Um,
Mhm. Yeah, just as a hmm, just as a desire to connect with your audience, and those, obviously all of those who are watching, to trust your body, to trust yourself, to know what's good for you. And by, of course, getting out of your head and then connecting with your body, it can be with the acupressure with essential oils. It can be with whatever resonates with your modality, with you, whatever modality resonates with you, and and take that quiet time for you, because you're worth it.
You're you're worth you are worth it. Right.
Worth
Right.
it. And there's no one else like you in the world.
Exactly. And there's definitely no one else like you in the world. And I am just so grateful and appreciative for you to be here today, and bigger that I even met you in the first place. But
Yeah, it's really
secondly,
light.
that I get to introduce you to our Good Fat Life
Hmm.
community
Thank you
and all
so
that goes
much.
with that.
So
All
much. It's
right.
such a pleasure.
Yes. Well, to be
Okay.
continued, right?
Yes, absolutely. There's more to come.
So I want to do a shout out to our sponsor, Snedecor's Cleaners, and actually the cover. It's gracing the cover of a Good Fat Life magazine. Jim and Cheryl, and they own Snedecor's Cleaners, and I have to say I can't imagine my life without them. Their service that they provide, and literally, I put the bag out on my doorstep. And actually, today, because my schedule's a little tight and I'm going to be traveling again, I had to ask for a rush delivery. So I put the things out this morning, a bag of things, and they'll be delivered to my door this evening. And the spots out of my favorite T-shirt where I spilled chocolate on it. It was dark chocolate, so that's a good thing. But anyways, I just can't tell you how much I appreciate having this ability to make my life easier, where I know that I don't have to stress about what I'm going to wear, because I know it's always going to be clean and fresh and ready to go when I am. So thank you to Snedecor's Cleaners. So I want to just say thank you to our listeners, because we know that you have choices and your time is precious. And we just want to thank you so much for being here, and also go out and live your good fat life. So until next week, take care.